Are we live yet?
I think so.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. My name is Asma El-Huni and I am the Movement Politics Director for Rights and Democracy, New Hampshire.
And my name is Alessandra Rodriguez-Murray. I'm the Program Director for New Hampshire Youth Movement.
We're going to start off today by acknowledging that we are located on the land within the Ndika, which is the traditional ancestral home and waterways of the Abenaki, the Pennacook, and the Wabanaki peoples past and present. In that spirit, today we will begin by acknowledging that we are guests in this land. Yes. Today we are so excited. The Thrive events happening all across the state. We are in the midst right now of an overlapping crisis. We're facing racial injustice, mass unemployment, economic inequity, and global pandemic. All of these issues are further made worse by the climate crisis. These crises we face are interlocking, so our solutions must be as well. We need to follow the leadership of frontline workers, BIPOC communities, and those who've been most affected by these crises. And so the Thrive Act presents bold economic renewal plan that puts millions of people to work, building a more just, healthy, and equitable society. So tonight, we're going to find out more about the Thrive Agenda and tell you how you can take action.
So we have 5 actions happening across the state right now. We have folks on the ground in Manchester, Portsmouth, Dover, Keene, and Nashua, and they are all demanding that our federal delegation signs on to support the Thrive Act. Our federal delegates are Senators Jean Shaheen and Maggie Hassan, and Congresspeople Annie Kuster and Chris Pappas. We've had meetings with all of them, and despite their claims to support the climate movement, none of them have signed on to support the Thrive Act. We are at their offices today to make it known that their constituents believe in and need this federal action. We need our federal delegation not just to sign on, but to fight for this act to pass. We need climate justice now.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. And now we are going to hear from Caniella, who is the Climate Justice Campaign Director from People's Action, who will tell us more about the national movement around Thrive and what's happening right now in Congress.
Thank you so much, Esma. Aloha mai kako, I'm Caniella Ng. Now more than ever, I'm proudly Asian, proudly Pacific Islander, and proudly Native. And y'all are so fortunate to have an organization like Rights and Democracy to build power for everyday people like you in New Hampshire. And they're really a key part of our People's Action family. But look, y'all, if you were to ask me just 6 months ago, like if we'd be in this position where we'd have a trifecta in the federal government, where we'd have a new president who's a self-proclaimed moderate, but wants to position himself as the 21st century FDR, I'd say you're bananas. But I mean, if you're asking 3 years ago, when like $1 trillion in infrastructure was a radical stance that only candidates like, the Squad or Bernie Sanders were talking about, if we had a $3 trillion climate bill in front of Congress today, I would have told you to sit down. So, it happened through actions like you're doing right now, and you're doing it right. And you aren't alone. Like there are over 120 actions happening today all across the country, from Maine to Texas to Guam to Alaska. And the press, the politicians, the pundits, the plutocrats, the president, they're hearing the people and our power. And we're saying that it's time to thrive. So Biden just announced the biggest investment plan in, forever. But frankly, when you look at the tens of thousands of women who left the workforce, the millions of tenants who simply can't make rent, and the countless families, mostly Black and Brown and Indigenous, who can't afford funerals for their loved ones who they lost during COVID, we know it's not enough. So our message to Biden, and especially to Congress, is thanks, but we already have a bill. Hundreds of organizers across this nation, including folks at Rights and Democracy, who are a huge part of it, crafted the Thrive Agenda from the ground up to actually get the scale we need for breathable air, drinkable water, and a livable planet. It wasn't created by lawyers on a hill. It was born and bred in our communities. It was supported by hundreds of organizations and even now key members of Congress, including Bernie Sanders and also Majority Leader Schumer. So now it's just getting other folks to sign on that are more aligned with Biden and folks. So it calls on $1 trillion a year for 10 years into our communities, with 50% going directly into frontline communities that are hit first and worse by the crisis we face. It centers racial justice, gender justice, indigenous justice, while providing 15 million jobs. And not just any job, but 15 million good union jobs. So people are like, hey, Kanye, how are you going to talk about social justice? And like, isn't that going to turn people off when you're putting too much into this bill? No, like we tried the other way, right? We tried to only talk about 2 degrees Celsius and all that, but people have diverse needs. People are diverse, like our communities are diverse. So we got to talk about all of them. If we want to build a diverse base, we need to win. So, you know, if you're someone who's afraid of getting shot by the cops when you step outside or even while you're asleep, you're not going to want to hear about a clean energy standard. If you're a Native person who's getting your ancestral lands like stolen from you, or you're an immigrant who's having your baby ripped out of your arms, you're not going to want to hear about like 2 degrees Celsius or batteries. Let's deal with batteries first, y'all, right? So we got to meet people where they are. And that's what gets me so excited about this Thrive Act, right? It's for all of us. Now imagine being able to walk into an employment office and there's a public job waiting for you. Like, and if you already have a job, like imagine the power that will give you when your boss knows there's always going to be something else for you that's better than the job you probably have now. So, you know, you'll have people from rural areas, urban areas, Black, brown, white, rich, poor, whatever, that are doing projects together to like fix. You just look outside my window right now, you can see there are potholes to be filled, bridges to be built, trees to be planted, all this work that the private sector won't provide. Like it's the market that's killing the jobs, and we got to step in to fix it democratically. So it's not just good, like these public jobs are not just good for our planet. It's not just good for our paychecks, but also for our politics, right? It's the real way that we're gonna unite. I was gonna end it by saying, like, this pandemic has shown us how little we can do on our own. Right? Like we can't keep the lights on in Texas on our own. Like we can't stop wildfires in California on our own. Like I can't watch my children while working full-time at home on my own, right? We can't, but it also showed us like what we can do together, like thousands of mutual aid networks popping up all across the nation, delivering food and water and clothing to people in need, the largest uprising literally for racial justice that our nation has ever seen. But you know, people shouldn't have to start GoFundMes for hospital bills or take gig jobs delivering crap to people after mounting 50 grand in student debt. We have the resources, like the federal government has the means to ensure all of our basic needs are met, like enough as a human right, a floor that we can all stand on, sure-footed as we reach up to those stars on that flag. Like that's the dream we were promised. We work hard too, and we deserve the good life, right? The freedom to thrive. So that will only happen by doing the work, going to actions like this, joining powerful organizations like Rights and Democracy, knocking on doors, making calls, sending texts. Look, like these corporate polluters, these corrupt politicians, they're counting on us to stay home. But our families, our future, our planet is counting on us to throw down. So we can have 100% clean energy through 100% employment. We can dismantle all the shitty systems, rebuild something beautiful. We can divest from the war machine and invest in ourselves to become our own weapons of mass reconstruction. So glad to be here. Definitely take action after this, and let's win.
Thank you so much, Kaniela. It's great to have you here and speaking to the national movement for Thrive and the urgency of this moment. We're going to pass the mic to the folks who are on the ground in Portsmouth. That's our 350 and Rights and Democracy organizers. First up is Speaker Corden Havren.
Time to thrive! 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 Woo! Time to thrive! Time to thrive! Yeah, time.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Corden James of Black Lives Matter Seacoast. We support the Thrive agenda in New Hampshire because of its mission for a just, healthy, and equitable society. Black Lives Matter Seacoast has forged relationships with communities, organizations, and leaders who answer the call for justice by dismantling systems and processes that do not represent all stakeholders in New Hampshire. My father once told me that, give a man enough rope and he will hang himself. Simply put, we are a product of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Live free or die, right? Last month, I had to finesse the Seacoast on why Black, Indigenous people of color are needed. Today, we unite with 350NH, NYHM, RAD, and other organizations across the state for a call to action. Our leadership, our congressional representatives, Senator Hassan, Senator Shaheen, Congressman Pappas, and Congresswoman Custer, have taken an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. At such a time as this, that oath needs to support a commitment to Black, Indigenous people of color who are being unequally impacted and adopt the Thrive agenda in full fidelity. Right. We are succeeding through the phases of COVID, yet in my interactions with the homeless, foster and adopted families, resource workers, refugees, and small businesses, lack of accessibility to resources, representation, jobs, and microaggressions are still at large. In regards to conversations on equity, we find the same gripes in health and the overall mental health of our state. Take action, not going through the motions. Action today looks like reciprocity. The Thrive agenda brings people together from different communities to take a proactive approach to face the current climate crisis, address systematic racial inequities, heal from the coronavirus pandemic, and build a vibrant economy. Enough rope has been given. It is your choice.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dua Zara. I'm an Iraqi American, a daughter of this earth we share together. An unjust war on Iraq, born of greed and based on lies, brought me to the United States. Out of all places, I've settled here in New Hampshire. And regardless of how difficult that journey has been, dealing with the snow for the last 13 years, it is my honor to stand with you at this crucial and historical moment of our time, demanding our right to thrive. War displaces millions of innocent people just like myself. And I fear that the climate crisis is driving our world towards levels of displacement we can barely imagine. We must make a massive shift and reorient ourselves from an extractive economy to a regenerative one. An economy that invests in millions of new jobs and breaks our national addiction to fossil fuels, an addiction that led to the devastation of my home country. Senator Maggie Hassan recently voted against the Bernie Sanders amendment to include a $15 minimum wage for all in the American Rescue Plan. This flawed public disservice must be called out in the daylight. I'm here to call for Senator Hassan to make right with the multiracial working class that put her in office by supporting one fair wage of $15 an hour, and to sponsor the Thrive Act and fight alongside us to get it passed. Right. Our country faces severe and intersection crises, and the Thrive Act addresses all of them. The climate crisis, the pandemic, racial injustice, and mass unemployment and economic distress all demand action. The Thrive Act is a transformational one on all these fronts. We showed up in record numbers in 2008 and 2020 to elect new Congress and president. A broad multiracial coalition organized and turned out to vote and won. The Thrive Act represents the transformational change we voted for. Polling shows every pillar of the Thrive Act is popular. It is time for Democrats to deliver. Congress passing the Thrive Act would represent important progress towards our vision for the 2020s as the decade of the Green New Deal. A historic period in which the people of this country choose to transition to carbon-free, racially just, inclusive, democratic, and pro-worker economy. It is time to work together to transform, heal, and renew by investing in vibrant economy.
Here from the leftist marching band.
Wow, what great tunes, what great music.
Yes. Time to thrive. Time to thrive. Alessandra, what did you think about that action in front of Maggie Hassan's office? Or was it Shaheen? Was that Shaheen, right?
No, that was Maggie Hassan, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think about that action?
It was so great to hear from, Cordon and Dua. I think Dua brought up such a good point that is often forgotten about climate refugees and like how human migration patterns will be changing because of climate change. And that is like something that's so important that is addressed in Thrive, in terms of taking care of our communities and making sure that we are set up to, protect people in the years to come as the climate starts to affect our homes more and more.
Yeah, and I heard also she mentioned that Hassan needs to get on board with the $15 raise the wage. More than 80% of New Hampshire Granite Staters have said they need that. They need it, not just want it, they need it. Yeah, I love that action. I loved some of the signs that said jobs, and it reminded me Thrive is supposed to create 16 million new jobs, and there are 14 million people who are unemployed. So like this will solve a lot of our issues. Yes, so now we're gonna go on to, let's see who's the next action. We're gonna go on to Manchester. So let's see if we can get into Brandon from Manchester, if we can find out what you all have planned in Manchester. And by the way, this is a coalition. So I just wanted to say this is a powerful coalition of RAD, New Hampshire Youth Movement, 350, and so many others. I just wanted to say that to make sure people know this is a group effort and we're throwing down. Brandon?
Hey, we're here right in front of Representative Chris Pappas' office, and we're thriving right now. All right, and here is our first speaker.
I'm Andrew. I'm here from Plymouth. I'm just going to be talking about today how climate change is such a problem that we talk about all the time, but I don't know why there isn't enough being done about this dire issue. Communities like around the United States have had this toxic air and undrinkable water for far too long. These are some basic rights that everyone should have, and these communities, especially BIPOC and working class communities, they just don't have these rights because the corporations value their money way more than the people. And with the Thrive agenda, there are so many environmental injustices that will be impacted. Access to these hospitals, schools, healthy food, senior care, child care, all of that. And on top of that, new investments will expand the clean renewable energy and reduce emissions and help push towards more sustainable resources. That is why I like the Thrive Agenda, and it definitely should be working. Thank you.
Very much. All right, now for Erica.
Okay, I am going to take my mask off for this. Okay. Hi, my name's Erica. I'm the legislative organizer for New Hampshire Youth Movement. I'm located in Manchester. So according to the current population survey in 2018, 41% of Latinx mothers and 68% of Black mothers were their family's primary or sole breadwinners. When they lose their job, that hurts their ability to house and care for their families. CNN reported U.S. employers cut 1,400,000 jobs in December, and women accounted for all losses, losing 156,000 jobs, while men gained 16,000 jobs. We live in a country that has set up both BIPOC and non-men to fail. There will never be racial equality in a system built from the oppression of people. These are symptoms have been irritated by the pandemic. We are seeing such obvious and unprecedented loss in our communities. Meanwhile, our elected officials are voting down $50 an hour federally, not Chris Pappas, shout out to Chris Pappas, but millionaires like Senator Jean Shaheen and Senator Maggie Hassan are looking down at the working class people of New Hampshire, asking us not to be greedy. When I lost my job at a server, the state of New Hampshire approved me for $120 a week to live off of. Let that sink in. I'm standing on Elm Street today outside of Chris Pappas' office because I believe that the Thrive Agenda is harm reduction that my community deserves. 40% of the investments from the Thrive Agenda are going to BIPOC communities for racial and gender equity efforts. We have to fight against climate change because climate change is affecting BIPOC and working class people first. This country and the industries that run them will not tell you how many people have been poisoned by their tainted water and their dirty air. How many lives we have lost. This is the bare minimum. I'm asking our elected officials to care. I'm asking for a sign of good faith. I'm asking for a reason to continue to vote at all. Sign on to the agenda.
Cool. Hello. My name is Garrett Walker. I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and I'm here to talk a little bit about unions. If you like what I'm saying today, check out liberationschool.org. Sorry, I guess I'll repeat that. Liberationschool.org is where I gathered all the information that I'm saying today. So about just to lay the context for the union struggle, we understand that under capitalism, the capitalists take the power from the ownership of capital, and in modern times that a lot of times it's just finance capital that's just numbers on a computer. The real value, everything that's real, comes from us, the working class. But we don't have all the money to throw out because we spend all of our money just surviving. So our power comes from our numbers and the fact that we are the people that actually make things. And so unions are a key part of the labor struggle of equal rights, of civil rights. Historically, labor struggle has been the site of some of the most powerful racial unity between people of all races, but unfortunately also some of the worst effects of racism comes from convincing people not to work together and not to unionize across the bounds of race, of gender, and all the ways people are divided. So it's just important that the working class is conscious, and it's important that we move with purposeness, whether it's organizing for strikes for better wages, whether it's putting pressure on the government to make changes. One of the biggest positives that has ever come out of the union struggle is actually the New Deal. People spend too much time thanking FDR for that. That comes from Black and brown union workers who said during the Great Depression, give us rights or we're gonna revolt against you. And the ruling class was like, well, I guess we want to at least keep what power we can. And so that's where we got the New Deal. That's where we got prior to that. That's also how we got rid of child labor. That's how we got minimum wages. That's how we got the 4-day, the 7-day work week. All that stuff. So we just need to understand that, you know, when the people come together in a good or organized fashion, that is where all change is made, and that is how we can accomplish change like the Thrive Act.
Thank you so much, Manchester. So exciting to hear the excitement from people passing by and your excitement there. Asma, what did you think? What were your takeaways?
Yeah, that was amazing. Erica's points about 40% paying attention to 40% of the giving attention to BIPOC communities is amazing, because they're oftentimes the ones that are left out. And then Garrett bringing it home, reminding people that we need to be working together, and that the things that we take advantage of now, the 7-hour work week, that was the organizing of Black, brown, and unions, right? That was their organizing, and people are giving FDR credit. It's like, no, it's actually the people working together. And yes, FDR gave us something, but let's remember FDR left out, BIPOC communities. So let's not, forget that there's still work to be done. It wasn't completed then. It's not completed now. There's a lot of work that still needs to happen, but Thrive is going to move us in that direction. So I thought that was a pretty awesome speakers. Yeah. What do you think, Alessandra? Anything that came out or jumped out at you that you felt?
Yeah, I mean, you already kind of touched on this, but Garrett mentioning how we always give FDR credit for the New Deal, when really that was, working class people working in solidarity with each other to push past legislation that we knew we needed. And it just gives me courage for what we can do now. Like, we can push that kind of change to happen now as well. It's, on us to force our legislators to represent the people adequately and meet our needs and meet the needs of our communities. So yeah, great speakers, great event. We're going to move to Nashua now. Ryan is going to bring us to Mark King is the first speaker in Nashua. You all good? You can unmute.
Okay, you just listen. Okay. Yep.
Hi, I'm State Rep Mark King, and it's great to see you all here in the ancestral homelands of the Abenaki people who stay here between the two rivers of Nashua. All of us and the folks watching on Zoom, we represent the values of the multi-generational, multiracial working class. We the people, they used to call us. We're folks who want a livable world. We're folks who want a living wage and democracy in the workplace that a union allows. We're folks who want our kids to live in a world where they can be safe and secure, where they can develop their talents and fulfill their potential. A world with fresh air and water. A world where all will thrive. Now, the Thrive agenda is based on economic renewal filtered through a perspective of justice, a congressional resolution to confront the interwoven crises of racial injustice, mass unemployment, public health, and climate change. Polling shows America's workers stand with us, as we stand by our communities, our natural world, and each other. Now, the COVID crisis has laid bare the interlocking issues keeping America from reaching its promise. The Thrive agenda consists of these pillars. I'll just say them quick, but Pillar 1, creating millions of good, safe jobs with access to unions. Pillar 2, building the power of workers to fight inequality. 3, investing in Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities. 4, strengthening and healing the nation-to-nation relationship with sovereign nations. 5, combating environmental injustice and ensuring healthy lives for all. 6, averting climate and environmental catastrophe. 7, ensuring fairness for workers and communities affected by economic transitions. And Pillar 8, reinvesting in public institutions that enable workers and communities to thrive. Now, polling shows America's workers stand with us. I'm sorry. From a place of mutual respect and love, together, we'll overturn the histories of greed and ignorance that led us here. Say it with me now. Our actions today will affect the generations that follow. Our actions today will affect the generations that follow. And I'm really happy to be here to invite Senator Shaheen, whose offices are here, to join our movement and sign on to the Thrive Agenda, joining Senators Schumer, Sanders, Booker, Warren, and Gillibrand. Now, if you took a second and sent her a quick email, that'd be good. If you called her, that might be better. If you sent her a letter, that'd be pretty top shelf. You should put the energy out because we have no time to waste. You got to get active. Now, I'm active with rights and democracy. Who do you volunteer with? Where do you put your energy? New Hampshire Youth Movement, 350 New Hampshire. We got brothers and sisters from Extinction Rebellion here. How about Southern New Hampshire DSA? Where are you going to put your energy to make a difference? Discover the joy of living your values and making a difference with others, because you get one life, you got to do it for one. Solidarity, thank you.
My name is Jordan. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a high school organizer with New Hampshire Youth Movement. For as long as I can remember, I've been passionate about the environment. My mom would take me to walk up and down the street with a garbage bag and collect litter. In middle school, I joined our cycling club, and I took great pride in sorting waste into their correct categories. I became vegan and started carrying reusable straws around with me everywhere. I thought I was saving the world. If it's so easy, I would wonder, why is climate change not getting better? My heart sunk when I realized I could not stop the climate crisis. Eventually, I realized that no matter how many pieces of paper I recycled or how many straws I turned away, my small actions would not reverse the effects of climate change. That's because it's not people like you and me who are worsening the climate crisis. It's major corporations allowed to operate in the most environmentally damaging ways because they can pay off politicians. It's the fossil fuel industry, which profits off our suffering, polluting our air and water, especially in the most marginalized communities. And it's politicians that refuse to take action to stop the climate crisis and save our future, like Jean Shaheen. As long as Jean Shaheen refuses to support the Thrive Act, she's telling young people like me that she doesn't want us to have a livable future. She's telling young people like me that she does not want us to earn enough money to live, have access to crucial medical treatment, or be able to drink clean air and drink clean water. She's telling young people like me that she does not care. I think you can all tell that I'm angry. I'm angry my future is on the line because the wealthy just want to make more money. And I'm angry that so many of our elected officials have allowed them to get away with it. But I'm also scared. I'm terrified of a future where we do not take bold action to stop the climate crisis. So here I am at Jean Shaheen's office to demand that she support the Thrive Act so that my generation can have a livable future. One with green energy and well-paying jobs. One where basic human needs are met. One where Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities can thrive. We are here to demand that Jean Shaheen support a future where we can all thrive. Thank you. Woo!
Hello, everyone. My name is Emmett Soldati. I'm a townie of Somersworth, New Hampshire. It's great to be in Nashua. Thank you, Jordan, for all your activism and work. Thank you, Representative King. Thank you, Representative Perez, for inviting me here. I just wanted to share a little bit about why I'm here and why I support a livable wage, particularly because we often hear even Democratic senators and Democratic representatives can't support this legislation because it harms small businesses or harms Main Street. And I'm here to tell you, as a 10-year small business owner in one of the poorest cities in the state, I support raising the wage to a livable wage. And the reason is our communities need the resources to thrive and live in a vibrant economy. When I first opened my business 10 years ago, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I know very well how challenging it is to run a business and how challenging it is to run a restaurant. For most of the time that I ran an establishment, I was making the lowest wage on staff. But one of the first things you learn as a successful business owner is that the people that you involve are the key to your success. Your employees and your talent are responsible for making your business successful, for making your business thrive. And so I learned very early on that I individually needed to do as much as I could to support many of my workers who were young. Many of them had multiple jobs. Many of them came from far away because they needed employment opportunities for themselves, to pay for school or to pay for their families. And the thing I recognized is it wasn't enough for me to do it alone. Because as much as a business owner, I may have to take on the challenges of raising wages and then raising prices and so forth. The businesses across the street don't necessarily need to do that. And more importantly, large corporations don't need to do it either. And so for me as a small business owner, it is important that we pass legislation that increases the minimum wage to a living wage so that businesses like me can compete, so that businesses like me can attract and retain talent that can be part of our community. And one of the most important things is it isn't just that my employees have a livable wage, my customers need one too. Because when you live in a community like Somersworth, the biggest threat to my bottom line is poverty. The biggest threat to my bottom line is people feeling they don't have the means to participate in their local economy. You can't expect one business owner, one small business owner, one restaurant owner to solve that. This is when our government needs to step in and say that $7.25 is too low to live off of. $7.25 is not a survival wage, and it is certainly not a thriving wage. And so that if we can increase our minimum wage to a living wage and actually for the first time institute a minimum wage in the state of New Hampshire, one that people can afford to participate in their local economy, my business succeeds because my neighbors succeed. And so at the end of the day, as a small business owner, I support increasing the minimum wage to a livable wage because it is a mandate to keep more money locally. It means that the money that people spend can stay within a community to support people, to support businesses, to support families, to support economic and food security. And so don't let anybody tell you that raising the minimum wage is harmful to small business owners. The only people it's harmful for are shareholders that want to export their profits out of your local community. If you want to see your Main Street economy, your small business economy, your favorite restaurants, your favorite thrift stores, if you want to see them thrive, help them by supporting a thriving local economy, and that starts by increasing the minimum wage to a livable wage. Thank you.
Wow. 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 Okay, I'm gonna let you go, Alessandra. What you think?
Amazing speakers back to back, huh? I don't know. I always love hearing Jordan speak on climate because she brings the urgency and how hard it is affecting young people and just their hope for the future. And I think it's so important to uplift the voices of people who are being impacted in that. And yeah, she brought the fire today.
She sure did. I mean, cars were honking and she was louder. She's like, I'm gonna be heard. I've been shushed already. People are gonna listen to what we have to say. And it reminds me of Mark King, what he said in the beginning, where he said, you know, what we do today will affect the generations that follow. And Jordan made it very clear that that is the case. And she's not going to allow that to happen to future generations. She's going to be heard. Yeah, the other thing, Alessandra, wow, what Emmett said, I need to mail that to Hessen, to Shaheen, because this whole argument about bad for small businesses, Emmett said it very, very clearly. He said, the biggest threat to my bottom line is poverty.
Yep. Yep. So true. Shaheen and Hassan always talk about like small business owners protecting small business owners, but really like, yeah, they can't make a profit if their neighbors and people in their community can't afford to shop there. And I think it's so important to be putting your workers' well-being, your neighbors' well-being before a profit margin in the first place. And this is something where it's mutually beneficial, right? You pay people more, they have more money to spend on things that otherwise maybe you have to budget around, and you can't be supporting your local business owners.
That is so true. I mean, research shows at the end of the day, the people that get more money will spend more money. I'm talking about the average people. We're not talking about the millionaires. They're the ones who hoard their money. When they get more money, they're saving it in accounts. We're talking about average people like us. We get money. What do? We spend. We go out to restaurants. We go out to stores. So this is going to help restaurants. So no excuse. Great job. Great job, Nashua. Yes. And now we are going to head over to Dover. Dover, let's see what you got for us. We're gonna touch base with Josie from New Hampshire Youth Movement.
Hi all, thanks for being here with us tonight. My name is Josie. I live here in Dover and I work as the political director for New Hampshire Youth Movement. I'm here to urge our Senator Jean Shaheen, whose office is right there, to sign on to the Thrive Act being introduced in the Senate by Senators Ed Markey and Jeff Merkley. It's no secret that we're facing a multitude of serious intersecting crises right now. Between the health crisis that COVID has caused, the resulting economic crisis that has forced small businesses to close, and the reckoning with racial injustice that has resulted in the biggest protest our country has ever seen, this year has left many with a lot of pain and grief. Amidst all that, one of the biggest crises we face has been brushed under the rug. We know that science is telling us that we have only until 2030 to change everything about how we consume our resources, how we source our energy, and how we interact with our planet. The very future of our generation and those that are younger depends on bold, large-scale climate action. If we can't do this while also addressing the many other crises we're facing right now, we can ensure everyone who needs a job can have one, that no one has to live without the resources they need to survive, like good housing, healthcare, and food. No one should have to live in scarcity when this country is the richest in the world. It's time to be bold and invest deeply in our future. It's time for all our members of Congress to announce their support of the Thrive Act today. Make sure you take the time to tweet, call, and email them today. Thank you all and support the Thrive Act. I'm going to pass it to my friend Sam. I'm Sam. Am I doing this? Hi, y'all. I am so happy we're all here because, like you all, I'm scared. I have been for a while. I'm scared because we're learning so much more about current urgent issues like climate change repercussions, social and economic inequity. But the more we learn, the more we stick our heads in the sand. And I'm happy because we are here to change that. What we know is that 97% of climate scientists agree that human-caused climate change is happening. We see the effects of climate change crisis globally through rising sea levels, extreme heat, increased hurricanes and floods that cause irreparable damage to our infrastructure and our power grids, like we saw in Texas. And even here in Dover, we all know Wagon Hill. We walk there, we take our dogs there, we go sledding there. The shoreline is eroding a foot a year. And even if it's not obvious now, climate change and inequity are intrinsically linked. Marginalized communities bear the brunt of climate change damage, including systemic inequity in housing, infrastructure, healthcare, and access to clean water. Things are bad, but there is a solution. Thrive. The Thrive Agenda will create 15.5 million jobs that directly address environmental and social justice issues, such as equitable access to water, clean air, communities and to our earth to fix the damage we've done. We are humans. We've made mistakes, and we've made a lot of them, but we can also fix them. And we can as long as we act now. So please support this bill for yourself and for your loved ones, for Wagon Hill, for your country, and for our world. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Marina Schwadron. I'm an organizer from Durham, New Hampshire. In 1929, almost 100 years ago, our country experienced the worst economic crash in its history. The top 0.1% richest adults own 25% of all household wealth. Mistreatment of the land soon caused climate disasters that eviscerated farms across the Midwest. Millions of Americans became impoverished and houseless, and many who did have work were brutally exploited and underpaid. I shouldn't need to tell anyone why this might sound familiar. A lifeline was provided in the form of a New Deal, a massive package of public works projects, financial regulations, and progressive policy that empowered the working class and ushered us into an unprecedented era of economic prosperity. This controversial and far-reaching legislation was passed just 4 years after the crash and took only 6 years to implement. Here's the thing about the New Deal. It wasn't created by policy wonks, sympathetic billionaires, or career politicians. It came from the voices of the people. Thousands of working-class organizers came together to make Washington listen. And if we want to pull the world back from the brink of another disaster, Washington will need to listen to us again. The Thrive Agenda is the first and likely the last significant shot we have at kickstarting a process to prevent economic and climate collapse. We don't have 10 years to reduce emissions. We have 2. Because if Democrats in this Congress don't show they have the ability to meaningfully fulfill their promises, then we won't get another chance like this. There is no better time. There's no room to move in increments. If this country sent a man to the moon, it can give its workers a dignified life. Yeah. If this country built a highway system spanning across an entire continent, it can build green energy infrastructure. And if this country threw itself into a decades-long struggle to root out the specter of communism, then it can do the same to white supremacy. Yeah. Let me be clear. Democrats did not win Congress in 2020 because of platitudes or savvy media campaigns. It was because of the work of organizers all across the country who have a clear vision of the future they want and who will take whatever steps necessary to see it fulfilled. I guarantee that most of the people standing here are the same ones who spent hours phone banking and knocking in doors in the freezing cold so you, Senator Shaheen, and other Democrats up and down the ballot could take office to represent us. And if investing all our energy into getting you elected turned out to be a waste of our time, then we won't be making that same mistake again. My name is Jerry Frost. My name is Jerry Frost. I'm a state representative and a longtime resident of Dover, New Hampshire. What are we doing here, friends? We're here because our senators love to talk the big game about climate action, but they show a lot of hesitancy in signing on to bold progressive policies. We need to actually transform and heal our climate. And let's be clear, we needed bold transformational policy 25 years ago. So we're out of time to dawdle. Yeah. They talk about caring about the economy and the workers who make it go, but then they vote against measures that would raise the wage and give workers more rights and protections. Yeah. They talk about moving forward toward renewable energy, then accept obscene campaign contributions from big oil. The Thrive Agenda will address all of these issues and more. It will prioritize moving toward 100% renewable energy. It will create millions of jobs and center racial justice in that process. It will invest in clean energy, energy efficiency, clean infrastructure, sustainable agriculture, and more. Measures that will bring pollution down as fast as the climate crisis
increasingly severe, and more communities feel its devastating impacts. So what are we doing here? We're here to show our support for the Thrive agenda and to let Senator Shaheen know that as our representative, we expect her to support the initiative in Congress as well.
Yeah.
Use your voices. Write letters to Senator Shaheen and to your local newspaper. Post about the Thrive agenda on social media. Talk to your state representatives like me about what we can do at the state level to pave the way. Most importantly, vote. Be informed and deliberate with your vote and put into office people who will do the right thing because it's the right thing. It's long past time we have representation that doesn't require our having to show up for rallies or common sense measures like this one, especially now. Link arms, let's go.
Yes.
Wow, amazing speakers there.
Ooh. I hear again the call once again for Hassan, Shaheen, and our Congress people to sign on. There's no excuse. They cannot be for climate change. They cannot be for racial justice. They cannot be for all the things they say they are for without backing it up by action. So we've met with all of them. They all said, oh, this all seems like things our senator supports. Well, prove it. If they support it, be a co-sponsor on this. So we expect that to happen. Otherwise, they do not support these things and they are not the champion for the people. Any thoughts, any other thoughts that came up for you, Alessandra?
I just like that line that Marina said is really sticking in my head of like, if America can root out the specter of communism, we can root out white supremacy. And it's so true. Like, as a country, we've never attacked racism and white supremacy head on. And we attack these imaginary enemies when all along, like it's all rooted in white supremacy and imperialism. And
so true. And this is not an attack on communism, but it's just saying if we went after that, right? It's the same thing as, you know, we're so ready to bail out all these big corporations. If America can bail out millionaires, billionaires, right? We have that money. How in the world are we not, you know, bailing out small businesses, bailing out the American people? It is much cheaper to help them than these big corporations. So yeah, so I love that. Thank you for reminding us or focusing on that. That is so amazing.
cool. Well, next we are going to show, I think our Keen action wrapped up, but they sent us a recorded video. Is someone on tech ready to share that video?
Yep.
Awesome, here we go. Let's see what they did up in Keene.
Welcome everybody with short notice. It's really good to see so many people out here on such short notice. We're here today to push our members of Congress to support the Thrive Act. We chose this location because of the proximity to Jean Shaheen's office, which is right over there. We tried to call her several times to ask her to send a representative to meet with us, but she did not. Thrive addresses 4 intersecting crises: the climate crisis, racial inequity, health care justice, and mass unemployment. If this passes, it would be a game changer in so many ways. Here are just some points on it. It would invest $10 trillion over 10 years fighting the climate crisis, creating good union jobs, making huge moves towards racial equity in this country, provide us clean energy by 2035. 40% of the investments would be to Black, Indigenous, and people of color. It would result in millions of jobs, modernize buildings to reduce pollution, protect our wetlands, and revitalize important public services. We're going to have 3 short speakers today. They will introduce themselves. We will have Jody Newell from Rights and Democracy, Doug Robertson of New Hampshire Youth Movement, and we're going to start out right now with Maddie Springfield of New Hampshire Youth Movement.
Woo! Ready?
Hello everyone, how are we doing today?
Doing all right.
My name is Maddie Springfield and I work with New Hampshire Youth Movement. I am the Keene Hub organizer, so I organize this area of New Hampshire. I wanted to start off today with a letter I wrote for Jean Shaheen. Dear Senator Shaheen, my name is Maddie and I am 22 years old. Actually, I'm gonna do my mask off. You don't mind.
Yeah, you got some space. You're socially distanced.
I got 2 masks on.
Sir, my name is Maddie and I am 22 years old. And I'm tired. I'm tired of politicians not considering the young people who will have to live with and are already living with the consequences of their inaction.
That's right.
As I stand here today, I don't want to bring a child into this world. Why would I? Every year goes by and nothing changes. Every year becomes the hottest year on record, and natural disasters continue to become more deadly and more frequent. Every year, forest fires scorch more of our land, and the air we breathe becomes even more toxic. Every year, more innocent lives are lost in the hands of racial injustice.
All right. All right then.
Millionaires like you continue to forget that a $7.25 minimum wage is straight up inhumane and unlivable. We need and deserve better. We deserve basic human rights. Rights to a clean planet, healthcare, equality, and living wage jobs. You say you care about these issues. You say you understand climate change is a crisis. But what are you actually doing to address it, other than empty words and empty promises? Too often, the blame is put on climate deniers. But it is just as bad, if not worse, for someone like you to say you understand the scope of the crisis, but choose not to address it on the scale that we need. I'm not going to stand here and ask you to fight for a livable future, because our world is already unlivable. People are already dying and suffering as a result of capitalistic greed and white supremacy. I am going to ask you to sign on to the Thrive Agenda, which will try to alleviate the suffering that is already occurring. The Thrive Agenda would make the transformational change we so desperately need during this moment of intersecting crises. It would put millions of people to work, building an economy that for once prioritizes climate, racial, and economic justice. The world has already woken up to the injustices of today after the pandemic and Black Lives Matter uprising that has made clear that our current world is fundamentally unjust, unhealthy, and unstable. Everyone deserves the right to thrive, no matter the color of their skin, how much money they make, where they live, or when they were born.
Right.
Dear Senator Shaheen, change is coming whether you like it or not. So step up or step aside, because we are building a world that works for all of us and not just the few. Woo!
Go Maddie.
Whoa, okay. Amazing, amazing. Again, Alessandra, the young people, they're pulling on our heartstrings.
Yeah, yep, for real. I love that last thing Maddie ended on, step up or step aside. You know, these senators,
Say
their
it
career,
again for those in the back. Say it again.
no, step up or step aside. You know, these career politicians, they want to just focus on their careers, how long they can stay in office. And meanwhile, we're just sitting here waiting for them to like take action on anything, to like live up to their words in any way. And we don't have time for that anymore. Like Maddie said, we're not fighting for like a livable future. We're fighting for like the world we're living in right now to be livable. Like the climate crisis is something that people think is like still off in the years to come, but it's happening right now. Like our communities are being flooded right now. Our air is toxic right now. Like coal plants are ruining the air in communities like right now. And it's not about what's to come in the future anymore. Like the climate crisis is real and it's affecting people now every day.
So true. Even our health. I mean, the increase in asthma, right? So when we're talking about right now, we are literally seeing the effects of climate change as we speak. So definitely appreciate that. Wow, I'm just so in awe, and I'm so thankful for all the speakers. I'm thankful for all the organizers in all the locations: Keene, Manchester, Dover, Portsmouth, Nashua. Amazing jobs. People out there, people watching us now, people who are going to watch this later. We want to thank all of you. Yeah, so let's try to get our senators and Congress people on this Thrive agenda. We cannot wait.
Yes, I'm putting some stuff in the Facebook live stream right now with a link to click to email our senators and Congress members, urging them to co-sponsor the Thrive resolution. I also included a link to a petition asking ISO New England to move away from fossil fuels and shut down the last coal plant in New England.
Woo! Yes, that is so important. Thank you. And locally, we have something very similar to the Thrive. So we know the Thrive is a federal on the national level, which is very, very important. And on the local level, we have something called Renew, which is the very kind of like it's the same kind of thing. That it's addressing all the different crises that we're currently facing at the moment locally on the state level. So definitely join our Renew team. We'll have someone drop this right now, the link, so you can get that. So join our Renew team to fight for this on the state level. So we need all hands on deck, national level, state level. Yes.
And then also stay tuned because we are planning on escalated Earth Day actions. At this point, we've had meetings with Senator Hassan, Senator Shaheen, Congresspeople Annie Custer, and Chris Pappas. Now we're here at their offices demanding again that they sign on to the Thrive Act. If they don't listen, if they continue to put off this like vital legislation, we are prepared to escalate. We will be in their offices, sitting in, getting arrested, talking to them, yelling at them to sign on and support our communities. So stay tuned for those actions. Stay tuned for Earth Day specifically. Both Rights and Democracy and New Hampshire Youth Movement will be planning actions around those days. You can check out our Facebook pages or Instagram for more details as those things come up. And then, yeah, always feel free to go to any of our websites, 350nh.org, Rights and Democracy, radnh.org, NewHampshireYouthMovement.org, and join your local organizations. This is an ongoing battle to fight for climate justice and other issues that impact the lives of Granite Staters every day. So please join the fight.
Yes, let's thrive together, y'all. Thank you.